Have you ever witnessed a father literally ban his own daughter from meeting her sister's wealthy in-laws? That's exactly what happened to me. While my sister stood beside him smirking in victory, my father declared that my pathetic teaching job would embarrass our entire family in front of high society. But the text message I received that very night changed everything, and what unfolded at the Montgomery Foundation's annual gala left 500 witnesses absolutely speechless. Hi everyone, I'm Evelyn, 32 years old, and this is the story of how I went from being banned at the door to holding all the keys. My alarm went off at 6 a.m., just like it had every weekday for 7 years at Lincoln High School in Seattle. Instant coffee, lesson plans, a well-worn 2015 Honda Civic and NPR on the radio. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I taught teenagers how to think, how to read between lines, how to see value in themselves even when the world didn't. The irony? Every night I went home to a family that did the opposite for me. My father, Robert Myers, never forgave me for choosing education over business. My younger sister Victoria learned early that mocking my career earned his approval. She built her entire identity around not being me, the family disappointment. Then came the call that would split everything wide open. Evelyn, wonderful news. Mom chirped over the phone. Victoria's engaged to James Montgomery. I Googled the name. The Montgomery Hospitality Group, owners of 12 luxury hotels, estimated net worth, $500 million. Dad must have been euphoric. A FaceTime popped up. Victoria's perfectly contoured face, a diamond the size of a planet flashing across the screen.
3 carats, Evelyn.
Can you even imagine? Her laugh was sharp enough to cut glass. She bragged about their penthouse, their vineyard proposal, and casually slipped in a jab about my sad little apartment. Still, I smiled. I'm happy for you, Vic, she smirked. Sure you are. The next evening we met at Italo's, Dad's favorite place to be seen. I walked in to find them already glowing under the chandelier. Dad barely looked up. The teacher graces us with her presence. Between bites of imported pasta, he laid out his pride. Your sister is marrying into the Montgomery family. Meanwhile, you're still, what is it again? Teaching teenagers to read? I teach advanced placement literature, Dad. Right. Well, Victoria will be Mrs. Montgomery soon. Traveling, hosting galas, making real connections. Victoria leaned in sweetly. The engagement party's next week at the Montgomery Grand. Everyone important will be there. Oh, but maybe you should sit this one out. Dad nodded. Image matters, Evelyn. We can't have you making the family look cheap. I blinked, the words hitting harder than I wanted to admit. So I'm actually uninvited from my sister's engagement party? Dad straightened his tie. I'm being practical. What would we say when they ask about your career? That you make $48,000 a year teaching kids who don't even want to be there? It's embarrassing. The silence afterward was heavier than the chandeliers. I set down my napkin and stood. Don't worry, Dad. You won't have to explain me to anyone. That night, grading essays on my couch, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. This is Marcus Montgomery. We need to talk. My breath caught. Marcus Montgomery, James's younger brother, COO of Montgomery Hospitality Group. Before I could reply, he called. Ms. Myers, sorry for the late hour. I've reviewed your nonprofit EduBridge initiative. 10,000 students helped in 3 years. 92% improvement rate. Impressive. I froze. I'd never told my family about EduBridge, the program Sarah and I built from scratch to bring adaptive learning to underfunded schools. Marcus continued, calm but direct. The Montgomery Foundation is launching a $15 million education initiative. We need someone who understands real classrooms. Our finalists present at the annual gala, March 15th, the same day as Victoria's engagement party. Interested? He asked. I heard Dad's voice echo in my head. Your job makes our family look cheap. Then I said, send me the requirements. Marcus paused, his voice softening. Ms. Myers, don't let anyone tell you teachers aren't important. Click. I sat there in the blue light of my laptop screen as his email arrived, and for the first time in years, I smiled. They'd banned me from their party, but they couldn't ban me from destiny. For 3 straight days, I lived on caffeine and adrenaline. The Montgomery Foundation's proposal guidelines weren't just detailed, They were ruthless. Budget frameworks, data metrics, 5-year impact projections. But teachers were used to doing the impossible with no time and no money. By the third night, my apartment looked like a war zone of coffee mugs and sticky notes. Sarah, my EduBridge co-founder, sat cross-legged on my floor surrounded by printouts. "You realize," she said, "if this goes through, your dad's probably going to choke on his caviar." I smiled without looking up. "That's not why I'm doing it." "Sure," she teased, "but it's a nice bonus." The night before the deadline, I rehearsed my presentation to an audience of empty chairs. I could practically hear my father's voice. What can a teacher possibly offer billionaires? But for once, that voice didn't sting. It fueled me. I hit send on the submission at 11:57 p.m., 3 minutes before the portal closed. Then silence until the next morning. From Montgomery Foundation, subject, finalist notification. My heart leapt. I'd been chosen to present. The date, March 15th. The location, the Montgomery Grand, the same ballroom hosting Victoria's engagement dinner that night. When the day came, I stood in front of my mirror in a simple navy dress, not designer but sharp. Sarah grinned as she adjusted my necklace. "You ready to turn some heads, Miss CEO?" I laughed nervously. "I'm just a teacher," she shook her head. "Not today, you're not." At the Montgomery Grand, the valet opened my car door with a crisp, "Welcome, Ms. Myers." For a second, the irony nearly made me laugh. The same doors I'd been banned from walking through 2 weeks earlier. Inside, the ballroom shimmered, chandeliers, gold trim, and a sea of tailored suits. I checked in at the registration desk just as a familiar voice echoed behind me. "Evelyn?" I turned. Victoria stood there, wide-eyed in a silver gown, clutching a champagne glass. "What on earth are you doing here?" Her fiancé, James, joined her, confusion etched across his face. "She's one of the presenters," Marcus said smoothly, stepping in from behind them. His tone was calm but firm, protective almost. "Our foundation believes in recognizing innovation, regardless of social class." Victoria's jaw tightened, but before she could retort, Marcus guided me toward the stage. "Let's get you ready," he murmured. When my name was announced, I felt every eye in the room on me. I took a breath and began. "Good evening. My name is Evelyn Myers, and for 7 years I've watched bright young minds fall through cracks we pretend don't exist." As I spoke, something shifted. It wasn't nerves anymore. It was conviction. I showed graphs, yes, but also faces. Students who'd once failed every test and now thrived because someone finally gave them tools that fit. I told stories of classrooms where hope had returned, not because of money, but because of belief. When I finished, the room was silent. Then applause, real thunderous applause. Marcus smiled from the front row, the kind that said, "You did it." Afterward, as guests mingled, I felt a tap on my shoulder. It was James Montgomery himself. "Ms. Myers," he said, "that was extraordinary. Marcus spoke highly of you, but seeing it firsthand was different." Before I could reply, Victoria appeared, tight-lipped. "James, we need to get back to our guests." He hesitated. "In a moment." Marcus handed me a champagne flute. "You just made a room full of investors tear up." "That's a first," I laughed. "Maybe it's the lighting." He leaned closer. "Or maybe you reminded them what purpose looks like." Later that night, as the gala wrapped up, Marcus approached me again. "The board meets next week to finalize partnerships," he said. "But between us, you made quite an impression. There's something more I want to discuss." "More?" I asked. He nodded. "Not just funding EduBridge. We need leadership. Someone who understands real education. Someone like you," I blinked. "Leadership? You mean," he smiled. "I mean, Ms. Myers, how would you feel about becoming CEO of the Montgomery Education Division?" I didn't even have time to respond before Victoria's voice cut through behind me. "What did you just say?" Victoria's voice sliced through the ballroom like a blade. Every nearby conversation seemed to pause. "What did you just say?" she repeated, eyes narrowing at Marcus. Marcus, calm as ever, turned toward her. "Exactly what you heard. Your sister's work aligns perfectly with our upcoming initiatives. We're considering her for a leadership position." Victoria let out a high-pitched, incredulous laugh. "You can't be serious. She's a teacher. She drives a Civic, for God's sake." Marcus's tone didn't waver. "She's also the founder of an award-winning educational program that's reached 10,000 students, something no corporate consultant we've interviewed can claim." James shifted uncomfortably beside her. "Vic, maybe let's not make a scene." She spun on him. "Are you defending her too? Do you know how embarrassing this is?" I stood frozen, clutching my champagne glass, trying not to tremble. Marcus stepped slightly closer, his voice lowering so only I could hear. "Don't let her rattle you, Evelyn. You earned this." Later that night, after the gala, I drove home in silence. My phone buzzed nonstop. Texts from Sarah, from reporters, from people I hadn't spoken to in years. But one message made my stomach twist. "Dad, call me. Now." I debated ignoring it, but curiosity won. The moment I answered, his voice erupted through the speaker. "What the hell did you do tonight?" "Good evening to you too, Dad. Don't you get smart with me? Victoria's engagement party was overshadowed because you had to make a spectacle of yourself in front of the Montgomerys." I took a breath. I didn't make a spectacle. I presented my work. Their foundation invited me. "You humiliated this family?" he barked. "I saw the photos. Marcus Montgomery escorting you around like you were someone important. Do you have any idea how that looks?" "Yes," I said quietly. "Like maybe you were wrong about me." Silence. Then, a low, dangerous tone I'd known my whole life. "You always think you're the victim, Evelyn. You're not. You're just ordinary. You always will be." He hung up. The next morning, the Montgomery Foundation's board meeting began at 9 a.m. sharp. Marcus opened the session. "As of today," he said, "I'm formally recommending Edubridge Initiative as our strategic partner for the Education Impact Grant, and Ms. Myers as interim CEO of our new division." A few members exchanged surprised glances, but no one objected. The vote was unanimous. When Marcus extended his hand, I shook it, my palm trembling slightly. "Congratulations, Evelyn," he said, his eyes steady on mine. "Welcome to the Montgomery Group." By the time I left the building, the Seattle skyline glimmered under soft morning light. My phone buzzed again. This time, not with anger, but disbelief. It was a message from Mom. "Your father just saw the press release. He's speechless. I've never seen him like this. Evelyn, I'm proud of you." Tears blurred my vision as I texted back. "Thanks. Mom, for once I'm proud of me too." 2 days later, I walked into the Montgomery Grand again. This time, not as a guest, not as an outsider, but as a leader. Marcus was waiting near the elevator. "You ready for your first board briefing, Ms. CEO?" he said with a grin. I smiled. "You have no idea." The elevator doors slid shut, and with them, the last remnants of doubt that my father had planted years ago. I wasn't just a teacher. I was the teacher who rewrote the family legacy. 6 months later, my name was printed on every Montgomery Foundation report. Evelyn Myers, CEO of Educational Partnerships. Our initiative had expanded into 3 states, reaching over 50,000 students. I was featured in Forbes Women in Leadership, something I still couldn't fully believe. But the universe, it seems, never lets peace last too long. It started with an email. Subject: Proud of you. Dad. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. "I may have been too hard on you. Let's have dinner and talk. Your sister's marriage isn't going so well. Maybe we can all start fresh." My fingers hovered over the keyboard. For years I'd have given anything to read those words. Now, they felt like bait. Still, I agreed. Curiosity more than forgiveness pulling me in. When I arrived at the restaurant, Dad was already there, in a tailored suit, trying too hard to look composed. Mom smiled softly as always. Victoria looked nothing like the woman who'd once flaunted her diamond ring. Her designer bag was gone, her makeup minimal. "Evelyn," she said, voice small. "You look amazing." "Thank you," I said calmly, taking a seat. Dad cleared his throat. "Your mother and I wanted to apologize. We misjudged you. We should have supported you." I raised an eyebrow. You mean when you banned me from a family event and called me cheap? He winced but pressed on. We all make mistakes. But, well, now that you're in charge of the foundation, I was hoping you might— There it is, I interrupted gently. The real reason, he froze. Dad, this dinner isn't about reconciliation, is it? It's about funding your company's new proposal that Marcus rejected last month. His expression faltered, confirming everything. Victoria leaned forward quickly. Evelyn, please, just listen. James and I divorced. He left me with nothing. I'm living with Mom and Dad again. I just need a small loan to get back on my feet. You have influence now. You could talk to Marcus. I held up my hand. Stop. The restaurant noise faded behind my pulse. Do you remember what you told me that night at Italos? I asked. Victoria frowned. What? You said I'd embarrass the family. That I didn't belong with successful people. I smiled faintly. Looks like I finally found my circle. Dad's jaw tightened. You can't turn your back on family. Funny, I said quietly. That's exactly what you did. I stood, sliding my chair back slowly. I forgive you, I said softly. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Or funding. I placed my credit card on the table. Dinner's on me. You can tell everyone your teacher daughter paid. Then I walked out, heels clicking against marble. The same sound that had echoed years ago when I left Italos. Only this time the weight on my chest was gone. A week later, I received an email from Marcus. Congratulations on the new national partnership. You've officially changed the face of public education. Dinner next week to celebrate? I smiled, typing back. Only if you let me choose the restaurant this time. That night, as city lights glittered outside my apartment, I thought about how everything had come full circle. From being banned at a door to holding the master key, I wasn't the family's embarrassment anymore. I was the example they'd never expected. And for the first time in my life, I didn't need their approval. I had my own. The Montgomery Foundation's newest headquarters opened a year later, a glass and steel building in downtown Seattle, filled with color, light, and the laughter of students on field trips. The sign outside read, The Edgebridge Center for Innovation, founded by Evelyn Myers. When the ribbon was cut, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions about education reform, partnership models, and social impact. But all I could think about was my old classroom, the smell of dry erase markers, the rows of tired desks, the hundreds of faces that had once looked to me for belief. After the ceremony, Marcus found me on the terrace overlooking the bay. He handed me a cup of coffee, my favorite, black with a hint of cinnamon. You did it, he said. No, I smiled. We did. Every teacher who ever stayed late grading papers, every kid who thought they weren't smart enough, this is for them. He nodded. You turned rejection into an empire. Not an empire, I corrected softly. A bridge. Later that week, I got a message request on social media. It was Victoria. Evelyn, I saw the news. I'm proud of you. I mean it this time. No excuses, no hidden agenda, just words. And that was enough. I didn't reply right away. Some silences aren't about anger anymore. They're about peace. Dad, too, eventually sent another email. Short. Your work is changing lives. I was wrong. I printed it out, folded it, and tucked it into my journal, under the quote I used to tell my students. Success is not the absence of failure. It's the courage to begin again after being told you can't. One evening, I returned to Lincoln High to speak at Career Day. The auditorium smelled the same. The same flickering fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. When I stepped onto the stage, I saw myself, in the shy senior girl gripping her notebook, in the boy who'd been told he wasn't college material. I told them, sometimes the world will call you small because they can't see how big your dreams are. Don't shrink for their comfort. Build your own table, and if they ban you from the door, make sure you own the building next time. The room erupted in applause. And as I looked at their faces, I realized something I hadn't before. I hadn't just proven my family wrong. I'd proven every limitation wrong. That night, I stood alone in the quiet of the new foundation building, city lights stretching across the water. For the first time in my life, I felt completely, utterly free. No titles, no validation, no comparisons. Just purpose. I whispered to the empty hall. From band at the door to building the future. And with that, I turned off the lights, ready for whatever came next.